Around the outer bounds of the Ferngill Republic, you'll find places like the desert or even the Ferngill Islands, and it's these specific places you'll have to travel to in order to cross paths with a curious individual in Stardew Valley. Now, this blue figure, shrouded in some kind of mysterium, has a role in the story of the farmer's journey through Stardew Valley that, while apparent, is still somewhat unclear, and that someone is Mr. Key. Prior to the 1.5 update, Mr. Key was known primarily as the operator of the casino behind Sandy's shop, the Oasis, and we only had a handful of vague, cryptic quotes from him alluding to things like saying that he was born ordinary but chose at a young age to become extraordinary, and that he just believes in the farmer because he sees their incentive to achieve excellence and take on the other challenges they're presented. It was the 1.3.27 update that added things like the secret notes, including the one for the Skull Caverns and the Floor 100 encounter you'll have with Mr. Key, that started to give us a little bit more of an insight into who he really is. But it really wasn't until the 1.5 update in December 2020, with the introduction of Ginger Island and subsequently Key's Walnut Room and Perfection itself, that it became clear that his role and presence in Stardew Valley is maybe a bit more intertwined than we realized. Reaching Perfection even shows us that Key and our late grandpa are also somehow connected. But what if there was more? What if there was a way to get closer to Key? To get to know him on a truly personal level, and I don't know, maybe even marry him and move him into the farmhouse? Well, that's what I've set out to do. Friendable Mr. Key is, at the time of recording this video, a brand new mod by the developer Angel of Stars, all linked below, that seeks to give the player the opportunity to do just that. This mod is thorough and expansive and allows you as the farmer the opportunity to not only interact with Key beyond his dozen or so dialogue lines and immovable spots in the casino and Walnut Room, but allows him to be friendable and even romanceable if you choose, adds over 800 lines of dialogue, all kinds of new quests and special orders, new crops, recipes, locations, and just makes Key real in the game. I especially appreciate this dev's attention to detail and their desire to elevate the experience with Key, because obviously as a character that desires to see us be extraordinary like him, tasks he gives us and even attempts at just simply getting a few friendship hearts with him is, as this dev stresses, not supposed to be easy. But if I love one thing in Stardew Valley, it's a challenge. So for this farm, I'm going to be attempting a 2-year Joja-free perfection run with Key as my spouse. Even though the game does have its own outline of perfection requirements, I tend to include a few other things like collecting all the books and powers, finishing all the community upgrades, and a few other things I'll be sure to add in this file as well. But for year 1, here are my main goals. Number 1, complete the community center and the movie theater inside of year 1. I really like doing this as a whole because in year 1, in either fall or winter, I like to make sure that year 1 of the movie theater cycle begins in the first year so that I have access to Wumbus in the second year summer. And that way I can get things like the Wumbus decor that I love to use in most of my houses. But for this file, I'm even happier to know that Key actually loves this movie, so we're definitely gonna have to see that in the second year. Number 2 is complete all the skill trees and, if I can, mastery. Especially with the new foraging buff adjustments in the 1.6.9 update, I'm very confident in getting all of my skills completed by usually around mid-fall of year 1, but I'm still trying to see if I'm capable of finishing up mastery as well inside of the first year on most files. And number 3 is befriend and hopefully start dating Key inside of year 1. For those who may not realize, I'll be unable to access Key at least until the first week of fall of year 1 because I'm obviously going the community center route, so I can't accelerate things like Ginger Island by doing Joja bundles. And the items needed to get into the casino include things like the 10 beet seeds, which I'm going to have to grow, and their fall crops. And even if I got one from the cart and somehow managed to get the greenhouse unlocked in summer, which I have done before, let's just say it's gonna take a while. More on that later though. We're also not gonna be able to benefit from things like getting to know him on the first couple of days of the game or being able to dance with him at the flower dance. And I also don't know, according to the mod info here, if he even has like a birthday that I can benefit from, and even if I could find a loved gift for him to give to him on his birthday. I'll assume he does, but what if it's spring 1? Either way, it's gonna be difficult. And just taking a look again at these gifting options, I have my work cut out for me. And yes, you're reading that right. Universal loves are hated by Key. And I can't even rely on things like Star Drop Teas to get a little boost for friendship. This is gonna be interesting. As just mentioned, unfortunately, I'm not even going to be able to get to Mr. Key for the first time until I get both the bus and the casino unlocked. But it's still important that we get this farm up and running well. There's no point in trying to romance the extraordinary if we're not gonna be so ourselves. And 2-year perfection isn't exactly a long time to get everything up and running. So I'll just spend the first couple of seasons focusing on myself. Who am I kidding? If you know anything about my content or challenges, you know I love doing things like unlocking the bus in spring of year 1 and pushing myself in as many ways as I can in the early game. So let's just get into it. Welcome to Romancing Mr. Key, coming soon to Netflix. Over the years, I've really started curating very themed farmers' personas, farm names, and concepts as a whole. One thing we always do is give the farmer a name that contains mal in some way, like my name. So I decided to go with a non-mal-less, which is definitely not my best work, but it's too late now. We'll keep it simple with Extraordinary Farm as the name, and I think key gems being my favorite thing will be hilarious with the context of key gems that might pop up again later. For my farmer, I'm going to do a blue-ish fit with blue hair and an outfit that I kind of feel like is if Mr. Key was a farmer. Maybe. And as far as advanced settings go, I'm going to keep everything standard, no 1-year guarantee, and just kind of straightforward this time. I debated things like monsters on the farm, but I think we'll have enough going on, to be honest. I went back and forth on which farm to choose, and for some reason, the standard farm just felt right. Admittedly, standard is one of the few farm types I haven't perfected yet, and I think it works in the whole concept of taking something ordinary and making it extraordinary. It was at this point in the file creation that I realized I should have looked for a mod that would let me do something like get a custom color pet and oh my goodness, this dev thought of everything. I did not originally know that this mod added key-themed colored cats and dogs, so this was actually an amazing surprise and perfect. There are 2 custom key-themed dog options here, as well as 2 custom cat options, but for now I'll opt for the blue-colored dog. Spring year 1 for me looks the same on most files. Grow just as many crops as I can, collect all the forage and befriend Caroline so I can get my tea saplings and start selling them, rip to the 1.5 sell price, complaining about how with clay farming gone I have to actually fish in the first season again, and unlocking rooms in the community center in hopes of getting as much of the vault done as possible. I also do always try to dance with someone at the flower dance, and I think I'm going to opt for Shane for 2 reasons. Even though he's a pretty easy character to get to 4 hearts with in spring, Shane gives you the recipe for the strange bun, which is one of Key's liked items, and one of the very few items I will probably be able to give him for friendship early on. And second, reaching max friendship at 8 hearts with Shane gives you his cutscene that unlocks blue chickens. I think having blue chickens on this farm will be super thematic, so we'll take that route for now. In spring year 1, I don't want a drop of energy to go unused, so I'm always growing as many crops as I possibly can to get things going, and clearing the farm as energy allows. I'm also super big on collecting forage, namely spring onions, and those have unfortunately not been as abundant as I'd hope on this file, but I'll take anything I can get. Other than that, I'm just spending a lot of time the first week fishing, but it does work in my favor because Marnie is on my front step on spring 5 to bring me my new key adjacent puppy. I opted for the name Nebula. I kind of keep flipping between coming up with like blue and purplish themed words of cool things and some other attempt at an extraordinary theme, but I think her name is cute and I'm again truly happy the dev thought to add these special pets in. Do you think we should get them all at some point? First day that the traveling cart is in town and she actually is selling a beet. Go figure. But I don't really think that's gonna do me any good as I need 10 total for the entire quest later on, but I'll opt for the rare seed and other items that can help me move the community center along. I am always a fan of collecting and growing rare seeds, but they do really feel quite thematic for this file. Feels like a crop that would impress Mr. Key, don't you think? Spring 5 also means the first community center cutscene and the follow-up with the wizard on the 6th, and fortunately I've got a handful of things I can start donating and can at least unlock the pantry and fish tank to get things moving along. I do tend to avoid everyone the first week or so in hopes of getting a quest from Caroline, which went super amazing when she asked me for a parsnip on day 2. Thanks, Caroline. But that being said, I did manage to get to the 2 hearts with her I needed by spring 11. Got her greenhouse cutscene and got the recipe in the mail the next day to start earning the bigger early game cash. So after that, I did make sure to go around and begin friending everyone else in the valley by the 2nd week of gameplay. At least everyone that matters. I opted for 75 strawberry seeds at the Egg Festival to give myself a better setup for year 2 with the intent to plant 50 this year and save the other 25 for spring year 2. And of course made sure to dominate in the egg hunt, managing a whopping 14 eggs in the hunt. This file's about being extraordinary, right? But I also made sure to run my cauliflower up to the community center after the egg hunt for one of my favorite little tricks in the game, completing the spring crops bundle and getting that free 20 speed grow for my strawberries. If you wait until the 14th, using the speed grow can still work, but those 20 strawberries won't manage that extra growth by the 28th, so you have to run and collect it late at night after the egg festival. The 3rd week of spring opens with me hitting 25k cumulative earned needed for Demetrius to ask about the farm cave, and I'm opting for fruit bats again like I always do. I am a fruit bat advocate mainly because I think it's more supportive for the community center and I like using fruit as a loved gift for the NPCs that like them, but it really is just a personal preference at the end of the day. I also finally started my silo construction on the 15th and got a bunch of bundles progressed over the next few days. Then the crop fairy showed up between the 15th and 16th and ruined my well-aligned crops like she always does, but I guess it's all right because she hit some of my strawberries this time. Oh, and I got the trash catalog on the 16th and the trash hat chat on the 19th. That was honestly kind of crazy. And then on spring 17, the completely unexpected happened. Pam sent me a letter in the mail with a battery pack. I was genuinely shocked and also confused because I thought I'd have to get a few hearts of friendship with her first, but nope. It's literally any friendship level greater than 0 that gives you a chance to get mail from Pam. And even still, for it to be a battery pack and not her other gifts was truly an act of key. So I went ahead and ran that over to the lockbox in the tunnel to get the quest to at least show up. Obviously, I'm not unlocking the casino until I get access to the other items like the rainbow shell in summer, but might as well, right? I did also manage to unlock mystery boxes on the night of the 17th, so 2 key interactions in one day feels like a pretty huge win. Of course, amidst all this, I'm trying to get some progress going through the mines as I'll need to reach the bottom, preferably before the end of the season. And would love to get a few donations to the museum for the seeds and other rewards Gunther has for me, as well as the boiler room bundles to get the minecarts going. And it's definitely going great. I began the final week of spring with about 40k cumulative earned. Things have kind of felt bottlenecked this week, but I also managed to get a few tools upgraded so far and focused pretty heavily on farming and fishing experience, which I'm definitely going to need. After making sure to give him a pizza on his birthday, I did manage 4 hearts with Shane, and he begrudgingly agreed to dance with me at the flower dance on spring 24. I previously decided to take the 9 cauliflower seeds I got from the museum and set them up for an attempt at a giant crop in spring year 1, and what do you know? It did in fact turn over to a giant cauliflower on spring 25. I also managed 2 pomegranates in the fruit bat cave on the 26th, so I at least don't need that sapling now. I ran a bunch of donations over to the museum, and I even got my arch nemesis amphibian fossil on spring 26 as another donation. At this point, I've successfully managed to complete most of the boiler room, but my mine's descent has taken a back seat, so I haven't managed to get a fire quartz to finish the bundle. Well, never mind. Boiler room done on spring 26. The last few days of spring for me are usually about getting as much gold as I can in the 80s of the mine so I can craft quality sprinklers after unlocking them at farming 6. But I was also graced with a red cabbage seed at the cart on spring 28, so this just saved me some time in the skull caverns in the future. Spring ends with only 78,000 cumulative earned and 85 floors of the mines cleared, but I did still manage to get 36 artifacts donated, 1 community center room completed, and farming 6, mining 5, foraging 6, fishing 8, and combat 4 across all skills. Maybe not my best start, but not a bad one either. And hey, Trash Can had spring year 1 for the win. Summer begins, which of course means more farming, and keeping in mind that if I don't build farm buildings soon, that animal bundle is what's going to hold me up from finishing this community center in fall. But I also need to get this bus up and running. After I established all my crops for the season, I spent the next few days mainly fishing to get as much cash as I could to close that money gap. I finished the vault and unlocked the bus on summer 3 and made sure to head over and say hi to Sandy at the Oasis on summer 4 and grab some deluxe speed grow for future starfruit. I also made sure to build the bridge on the beach on summer 4 so I could keep an eye out for rainbow shells to keep this casino quest moving along as fast as possible. With the desert unlocked, I still need to get to the bottom of the mines to enter the skull caverns, so I do spend the next few days getting my way through the last 30 or so floors, grabbing my star drop along the way and reaching floor 120 to acquire the skull key on summer 7. I've checked the beach every day, and even though I still don't have a rainbow shell, I'm heading to the skull caverns on summer 8. Aside from the community center, the skull caverns are one of my favorite parts of the game, and I strive to help other players get more comfortable managing them in early game before they have access to things like sheds full of jade or other late game resources. My descent is pretty normal, and I do manage to find my first prismatic shard on floor 51, which was great news since I was over this tempered broadsword. Bone sword supremacy. I got to floor 53 and hit an infested floor at nearly midnight, so I just decided to instead grab my galaxy sword before the day ran out. And it was finally on summer 9 that I managed to find a rainbow shell. I have a confession to make. As I was working on getting to the casino, at this point in the game, I had completely forgotten about the beats I needed and thought the only thing now holding me back was my rainbow shell and getting the bus up and running. With the bus repaired last week, I wanted to make sure I was getting access to rainbow shells as soon as possible so I could finally begin this actual journey with Key. And as I walked my first rainbow shell up to the train tracks and placed it in the bin, you can literally see my realization in the game footage here. I'm not meeting this man until fall. Well, anyways, I did still get the reward letter from him on summer 10 for making it over 25 floors in the Skull Caverns, and then ran over to the community center to finish the dye bundle that same day. The cart has been pretty kind this file. I also opted for a gold quality super cucumber for the luau because it just felt right. I always try to do thematic luau's and grange displays, so we'll talk about that more in the fall. Even though we're not going to be seeing Key for a while longer, I have been trying to stockpile what little gifts I can, like a few strange buns and a purple slime egg I got spot in the Skull Caverns. I should probably build a slime hutch. Summer remains relatively uneventful as I've now just set my sights on getting to fall as fast as possible. Green Rain arrives to the valley on the 18th, and I managed the Rusty Key from Gunther on the 19th. I hit fishing 10 at the Trout Derby on summer 20 and mining 10 in the Skull Caverns on summer 23. I caught the Crimson Fish, acquired Way of the Wind, and got the Homesteader and Monoculture achievements. I got Shane to 8 hearts and unlocked blue chickens on summer 28, so I can finally start adding those to the farm. And then I went ahead and bought those 10 beet seeds I needed that afternoon so I wouldn't forget, and picked up my burglar ring from Marlin before saying goodbye to summer with the Moonlight Jellies. Summer concludes with 290k cumulative earned, another community center room completed, a lowest Skull Cavern floor reach of 118, and skills all within reach of the last 1 to 2 levels. Fall has finally arrived, so we can really get this show on the road. Along with my other crops for the season, I made sure to get those beet seeds planted and even threw on some deluxe speed grow to take their growth down to 4 days instead of 6 so we can get access to the casino even sooner. And while we wait on those to grow, I went ahead and initiated my house upgrade and grabbed the last backpack upgrade on fall 2. I wanted to make sure there is plenty of room for activities. Gus also had another strange bun for me to add to my very small collection of tolerated gifts, and I found the rabbit's foot I needed for the community center while in the Skull Caverns on fall 4. It's time. Fall 5 is here, which means we have the last item missing needed to unlock the casino. I ran those beets over to Lewis's fridge, hopped over to the desert to drop off the solar essence, and then returned back home to pick up my club card before heading back over to the desert. No discount for multiple trips in one day, Pam? And entered the casino for the first time. Okay, so this was pretty straightforward and just his standard introduction you get when entering the casino. Fair enough. I finally remembered after this on fall 7 that I should actually really build that slime hutch. So I got that constructed by fall 9, and Marlin made sure to drop off the complimentary slime egg with purchase. For those who maybe don't know, you can find single slime eggs mainly in places like treasure rooms in the Skull Caverns at any point, but after you build a slime hutch, you unlock slime eggs as drops as well. And things like the burglar ring and monster compendium can help me get more than one per monster, which paid off pretty quickly for me when I found some on fall 12 and 13. I also found an auto petter on fall 12 for those curious. As far as loved gifts go, he loves purple and tiger slime eggs. But for the hutch, I'm going to do purple and blue, I think. When slimes and hutches produce slime balls, it's just slime. So you have to press them into eggs, and it's really just a random chance what you'll get regardless of the colors found inside your hutch. Purple is unfortunately pretty low odds, so we might as well get slimes that match the color scheme of the farm. Along with this, after a few decent Skull Cavern dives, I've managed a handful of prismatic shards that I'm forcing myself to hold onto to trade for magic rock candies on Thursdays. Magic rock candies are only liked gifts, which is genuinely crazy work, but I've got to take what I can get, and this is about all I can get. I did my best for the next week or two to try to talk with Key as much as humanly possible. According to the dev, his normal schedule rotates between being in the casino and being in the Walnut Room on Ginger Island. So after that, I still can't even access him for at least half of the days right now. But he does have a few deviations from schedule, and I managed to find him some of these times. The first time was on fall 9 when he was down by Hat Mouse in Cindersap Forest taking notes as I was collecting iridium blackberries. That's right, I did already get foraging 10. He lets me know he's working on something, but I can't know what it is, so here's a strange bun, I guess. As a more advanced player, it's crazy to think I'm only able to give him mostly liked gifts when I've had 2 whole seasons to find stuff, but where on earth am I going to get an extra tea set? I do catch him again walking up to the Skull Caverns on fall 10 and decide to act super normal by walking with him up to the cavern's entrance. Real talk, I love the fact that this schedule has him sometimes just posted up in the caverns. On fall 15, after changing my hat to this fashion hat to try to look more like Mr. Key, I decided to cough up one of the purple slime eggs I did find and give a loved gift instead, which he said was extraordinary, so... But that was in fact enough to finally get this character over 1 single heart in friendship, and we can now get a 1 heart cutscene with him, which is only viewable in fall. I've got that spark, huh? Well, the 16th is the Stardew Valley Fair, and one way I like to create an extraordinary Grange is by curating items around a unifying theme, specifically the theme of the farm. Typically, it centers around the marriage candidate themselves, or if a challenge is less specific, around that whole concept instead. I've been setting aside items here and there and keeping this display in mind for the whole playthrough, but I'm just really stumped. There are 8 categories in the Grange display, and you'll want to include 6 of those categories to get max points for that component. I'm not fully sure if a purple slime egg will count at all, but it definitely doesn't count in a category. So my finalized selection ends up including a strange bun and a magic rock candy under cooking, a super cucumber and midnight carp for fishing, a purple mushroom for the flower and forage category, a crystal fruit for fruit, a kyanite for the mineral, a beet for the vegetable, and that purple slime egg. I obviously managed 2 liked and 1 loved item in the display, but as far as the concept for the rest go, it's mainly blue and purple as a color scheme with an intent of picking items that are maybe a little harder to come by, a little more rare, or feel a little more mysterious in some way. And the beet is part of a quest, so that's why that's there. I'm happy with it, I think. While waiting for Lewis to conclude his judging, I decide to make the rounds and talk with the other people in town when I realized that Key was actually here too. Oh, no, this kind of stuff doesn't have an impact on me. Anyways, I guess we won, yay! And of course I made sure to grab enough star tokens to collect my star drop and other prizes before heading home. Now, you may have noticed that I had winter forage in my Grange display in fall year 1. That's because when I complete the greenhouse, which was a normal fall 10 for me this file, I take all the winter roots I found, mainly from the frozen mines, run them through a seed maker, and plant them in my greenhouse in fall to get the winter forage taken care of as soon as possible, instead of just waiting around for winter. And after the Stardew Valley Fair was over, I did in fact manage to run those last few items I needed from winter forage to complete my community center on fall 16. The town was pretty happy with that, and hey, so was Mr. Key. He ended up mailing me a recipe on fall 18 after completing the community center pushed our friendship to a total of 2 hearts for the blueberries pie. Cute. Also looks like I had some forethought using the crystal fruit in the Grange. With the community center complete, it means we can get the boat repaired to start working on Ginger Island. You may have noticed that stack of hardwood, iridium bars, and battery packs in the same chest from the Grange prep discussion earlier on. Yeah, I've been making sure to set those materials aside so we can get the boat taken care of with no delays on fall 18 as well. That means it's time for Ginger Island on fall 19. But not before finding Key in the secret woods and saying hello. I made sure to get the island farmhouse unlocked the same day and cleared most of the debris and set up Goramon's crops before running to bed for the night. I want to get these 100 golden walnuts collected so we can finally have somewhat unfettered access to Mr. Key. I also really want to try a different setup on this farm. I feel like ancient fruit is more thematic for Key, but who am I kidding? I'm still planting starfruit on Ginger Island. Maybe I'll diversify later. Around the valley, the raccoon tree fell between the night of the 19th and the 20th, and I'll admit that I didn't get it constructed until the 27th because for some reason I thought it was 200 hardwood and not 100, as if I haven't done this quest multiple times at this point. I began the Dark Talisman quest on fall 20, triggered the movie theater bundle between the 23rd and the 24th, and opted for mining as my first mastery perk on fall 24. Oh, did I forget to mention I finished skills? Yeah, that happened on fall 14, which is actually a new PB for me. I dropped off a sweet gemberry to Old Master Cannoli for my 3rd star drop, picked up the alleyway buffet, and made sure to donate the dino mayo and void salmon for the missing bundle. Meanwhile, on Ginger Island, I freed Professor Snail, solved the gem bird puzzle after definitely only a few guesses, and made my way through the volcano to the forge, making sure to get as many golden walnuts as I could along the way. And of course, in between all this, I've managed to slide Key a few gifts and even found him at the Spirits Eve festival. This was interesting. All this managed to get us to a whopping 3 hearts, but we did have another exchange because of that on fall 28. I haven't been able to enter whatever room this is, despite now having more than the standard 2 hearts for most NPCs' room or house requirements. So I'm curious to see what it'll take to actually be allowed to enter whatever is hiding behind these locked doors. Winter rolls around, and with it, a brand new quest from Key: 50 giant slimes. Seems doable. And Key has some words of wisdom on how to approach the new season as it begins. I finished a second mastery perk at the end of fall, so I ran down to the cave and opted for foraging, thinking I can grow some mystic trees to tap for syrup for liked gifts since I'm not having much luck with anything else at the moment. I've been collecting slime nonstop, but I haven't been blessed with a purple egg aside from the few I got last season and stored away. And then I ran over to Ginger Island to get all of Goramon's quest done so I could unlock the resort and the island shop. I spent the next few days in the Skull Caverns making sure to prioritize Key's quest and got all 50 giant slimes by Winter 3. 10k reward. Nice. I had also taken the Prismatic Slime quest this week, so there seems to be a pretty unifying theme as I managed to grab that on Winter 4. Now it's back to Ginger Island because I'm only at 77 golden walnuts and finding Key does not always go as intended. So the sooner we can get this walnut room unlocked, the better. I proceed to spend a good deal of time over the next several days farming and mining to try to get to the 100 walnut threshold, and it isn't until my next starfruit harvest on Winter 10 that I've finally earned enough to unlock the door. Well, at least we've got that taken care of. But also, what is this? On Winter 11, I was going about my normal activities of trying to chase Key down for a little interaction when Sandy stopped me. Am I in danger? Nah. I'm really glad I'm seemingly managing to interact in these cutscenes correctly because we've managed 2 hearts since the start of winter, which is making me feel like we're actually making progress now. And that's when it hit me. His birthday. His birthday! Genuinely, why I didn't think to click on his gift log sooner, I'll never know. But Key's birthday is winter 13. That's in 2 days. More importantly, we somehow didn't miss it despite having this info available for a while now. But before that, Key did send me a new Skull Cavern challenge, 35 Pepper X's. I've also been debating different catalogs on this file. I already purchased the retro catalog, but opt to grab the JoJo catalog as well solely for the color scheme. We'll see though, I'm not sure Key will actually approve. I exchanged one last interaction with Mr. Key before winter 13, his birthday. I very intentionally kept one purple slime egg in case I did ever figure out a birthday, or if Key was capable of being my secret friend, so I'd be sure to have a loved gift on standby. Confident in knowing that a birthday loved gift would get us past 8 hearts, I already managed to grab a bouquet, which I unlocked thanks to maxing friendship with Shane, and set out to find Mr. Key down in Cindersap. There it is, 8 hearts. And while we're here, let's just... Honestly, I really like this exchange. It does a good job maintaining the mysterium of Key while still allowing the character to have a moment of softness. Well, we did it, Joe. Like was stated in the beginning of the video, the dev made it very clear they intended for this to be a challenging mod to use with things like inaccessible schedules, almost impossible to access gifts, and overwhelming quests. I don't know if they foresaw a player like myself setting out on a mission to try to not only reach Key, but start dating him all inside the first year. But I bring that up because I've skimmed over some of the cutscene triggers and quests to have an indication about how I can stay on track more than anything. And I'm curious to see if being able to jump progress as much as we have with that last gift will impact the sequence of events. Sandy has some more thoughts for me on Winter 13 though. Oh, does he? With 8 hearts now and a bouquet, I have to believe this room is now unlockable, right? Well dang, this is pretty cool, and I appreciate all the little Easter eggs everywhere. The warp pad doesn't work for me, at least not right now, but I wonder what's in this room. Oh, is Mr. Key actually my soulmate? And what is that? Okay, now what's in this other room? Okay, I like the idea of an office as well. I'll take these ancient cactus seeds. I have been wondering when I would get them, and might as well grab a few other decorations while I'm here. Mr. Key actually ends up letting me know the next day I can buy those ancient cactus seeds. He signed this letter yours, which is an upgrade from your friend last time, at least in my opinion. He followed that up with another quest, 100 iridium bars. I'm sure this is supposed to be a pretty daunting quest for a lot of players, but I think I already have most of what I need to get that done pretty quickly right now. The heavy furnace may just be my favorite item from 1.6. I did try to catch Key on the 14th and managed to see him use the warp pad, which took him to Ginger Island, so maybe it's only for him. I went and redeemed my 3rd mastery on the 15th, opting for combat this time so I can get my trinket slot. I'm not sure which trinket is really right for a Key-themed farm though. If you have an opinion, let me know. And I did in fact get all the iridium bars I needed by winter 16, which I ran over to Mr. Key. It looks like this quest might be dealing with a little glitch at the time of me recording. He only accepted 50 of the iridium bars, but the reward was 155k, which is nice. Doing so managed to get us to 10 hearts, which I was not expecting at this point, but that did trigger the marriage letter on the 17th. Since it's winter, we won't naturally acquire rain to go ahead and grab a mermaid's pendant, but good thing I have some rain totems from the Skull Caverns. I activate that on the 18th so we can have winter rain, disgusting, tomorrow. Also, when I ran to give the wizard a gift for his birthday, he had some interesting things to say about Key. I don't know, maybe he's just jealous. I grabbed the mermaid pendant on winter 19 and added a bunch of books to my collection on the special powers tab, and even grabbed the Queen of Sauce cookbook to unlock all those recipes now. I had taken the Dangerous Minds quest for this week, and after completing it on winter 20, Key actually showed up to congratulate me on a job well done. I also finished the missing bundle and finally got my first gold coconut before buying a banana sapling on Winter 21. I'm still working on the Pepper Rex quest, since them and prehistoric floors are a little harder to come by than some of the other things I've had to look for, but I also took this time as an opportunity to catch up on a bunch of long-standing quests from everyone else in town. I got the raccoon book on Winter 25, which was way more exciting than the poppy seed muffin Pierre gave me at the Feast of the Winter Star. I also squeezed in time for my 4th mastery completion, and I went with fishing so I could make going for the glacier fish a little bit easier before winter's end. I also finally managed the Floor 100 secret note and figured it would be great to end the year with a celebratory cavern dive and toast to iridium snake milk. Oh, and there's one more thing I forgot to mention on Winter 28.